everyone, and welcome back to the Penthouse Podcast. I have a special guest host today, a longtime friend of mine. We're going to welcome Anna Marie Precythe. Welcome.
Hi, Joe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So glad you can make it all the way from Asheville today.
I know.
Actually, so you still have your place in Lee's Cut.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have,
we rented it to a friend that
table's
is building a home, and so they've had it for 2 seasons now. And so
you got that end unit. It's beautiful.
I know.
It's probably the best one in the whole place.
It is. It's a gem for sure.
So I'm so glad you could make it today. It's a beautiful day in Wilmington. How was your drive? Smooth?
It was smooth. You know, we come back every 6 weeks probably to see people do dinners, you know.
Very nice.
Keep our flag planted a little bit so people don't.
Everybody misses Wilmington. Can't be gone for too long.
I know, because Kelly always gets here and he says, do you just want to move back? And I'm like, if you want to.
Your place in Asheville is beautiful, though.
I know. We just love the mountains, and I like living in both worlds.
Yes. It's like something about Asheville so calming, and I go up there to get away. I stay with you.
I know. Once you get above like Greensboro, you just got to kind of go. You know, yeah. I do. I don't know if it's
it's like a breath of fresh air. It's that same feeling I get when I come over the Figure 8 Island Bridge. When you go to Figure 8, you're like,
yep. And what's crazy
that.
is how different culturally each city is, and they both have their pluses and minuses, which I like. Like I said, I like to be in both. So. I just like Asheville. It is very weird, and you have to have a tolerance. And I think from being a Portlander,
yes,
I had some exposure to the weirdness. Yep. Yeah, but for Kelly, he's like a fish out of water. He's like, I can't.
I don't mind a little weirdness.
I like it.
It keeps it fun.
It does.
Keeps it interesting.
Exactly.
So first of all, you were married. How long have you been married to Kelly?
Kelly and I got married New Year's Eve going into 2018.
A New Year's Eve wedding. How exciting.
It was incredible.
And you did it at the
Grand Bohemian.
That's right.
Yeah,
I love that hotel.
We realized after going to Asheville, like when you're spending, going 4 or 5 trips somewhere, you might want to so that's kind of what really drove the decision. We got married at the Bohemian. It was a small wedding because they had a massive ice storm.
Oh, man.
So like 25% of our guests didn't arrive because they were stuck on I-40.
This table is driving me crazy. Sorry, it's so wonky. What the hell's going on with this table? Will you put something underneath this thing?
Like
my
got
drink keeps
sugar
swishing back
packets.
and forth. Yeah. Oh, what a day already. So yeah, getting married on a New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we met on Match.com, and
cool.
we got married. I think a year and a half in. I think we both met, and we just kind of said, "This is it."
Here, just put that whole thing there. One more. There you go. Cool. So I've talked a little bit on my previous podcast about internet dating, and
yeah,
I've been around the world and back. I feel like I had Bumblebee and Tinder and Grindr and all of them, and it's like I'll go on like a bender and then I'll be tired of it because I haven't had any really good luck on those. But
yeah.
Match seems like it's real. Match is more like, what's the other one? Hinged. It's more descriptive. It gets more personal.
Yeah, you have to answer a lot of questions. I think what I liked is that one, you had to pay for it.
Yes.
So that kind of separates people.
Trash.
And I had a really straightforward, honest profile. I was married before, and it blew up. It was a massive deal in Portland. It was very public, and I kind of wasn't in the mood for games. And I think the more honest you are, and I think you attract what your intent is. So as long as you go in with the right intention, I think you'll attract the right people.
Absolutely. So I was thrilled to announce that you are working on a podcast yourself.
I am. It's been probably 7 years in the making, just as far as what direction to go with it. But yeah, the project is the Goodbye Podcast. And the premise is that we're going to work with people that have terminal illness and are looking through a different lens than those of us who don't know what our time is. And so what I would like to accomplish is, one, give them a platform where they can share their story, and then grant them like an adult wish, like a make of the wish for adults. And then the third piece is probably the most important, is the goodbye, and how, almost like their personal eulogy, how they want to leave, whether that's amends, or it's professing love, or just a debrief of their takeaways from their time here. And I think a lot of people say, well, isn't that really morbid? And I said, I don't know, because there's plenty of people that spend hours listening to true crime and how people die.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't know, giving people the time and attention and honor of knowing how they lived, to me, is not morbid at all.
Well, especially when you've been diagnosed with, that you're going.
This is the vent. Yeah. Air quality in this place is priority. I'm very serious about our HVAC.
God knows it just keeps coming on by itself. It's the ghosts tend to screw around with me every now and again up here, I think.
It's my brother.
Yeah, there you go. But I do want to go. Let's go back into. Yeah. I do want to talk more about your podcast, but I want to go back to your background, your school. Where'd you go to school?
Oh gosh, that is a long road. So I started at Ohio State, was paying for it myself, working 2 jobs, and then when I was working and trying to skip classes to go to work at 19, I kind of had this realization. I said, this is probably not going to work out.
Yeah.
So I joined the Air Force in
That's what I'm excited about.
April
I love that.
of 2000. I was 18. I turned 19 that summer. Was in San Antonio, Texas. I said, hey, I want to leave in 3 weeks. I want this rank when I graduate basic, and I want a 6-year contract with a bonus. And they're like, okay, these 24,000 jobs go to 3,000. And I literally opened a giant red book, and I closed my eyes, and I dropped my finger, and I landed on aerospace control and warning. Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
If anyone knows what the AWACS is, they're the air component, and then I was on the ground. They call us scope dopes. So we look at radar and tell pilots.
Scope
and
dopes?
we're called scope dopes. Scope dopes. Yeah, we sit in a
Try
radar.
saying that 3 times
I know.
fast.
We sit in a radar. Look, radar love. Golden earring. We sit in a radar box and. We direct aircraft. We used to do close air support. It depends on kind of what your job is, but that's what I did.
I guess a lot of that is confidential. I mean, you can't really.
No, it's
is.
unclassed.
Okay.
So I went to South Korea as my first installation, and then I went to Alaska and worked for NORAD. If anyone knows the Santa tracker. That was my job.
No way.
I was I was one of the Santa trackers at NORAD for.
You're kind of like Mrs.
8
Claus,
years.
kind of. In a way.
Yeah. But no, then 9/11 happens and changes the whole air defense landscape, and they trained us to be qualified to intercept airliners.
What were some of the things that they put into place after 9/11 that really made a big difference with that job?
Well, I would say interconnectivity of agencies. So before, agencies maybe didn't do a good job of speaking. When I say agencies, I mean NORAD, the FAA, Coast Guard. All of us were operating independently, and I think what 9/11 did was just kind of build us into one ecosystem to where we could communicate very quickly, because things happen very quickly. So.
That just a click of a button.
Yeah, and so so around the United States is an air defense identification zone. We have this imaginary line, and if you cross it, they scramble jets and they come after you, right? That's been around forever, since Cold War, right? But after 9/11, with them being able to get and kind of grab an aircraft and take control of that hijack scenario became front and center.
I just watched the Boeing, the missing plane, the Philippines was the flight. What was it? What is it? The
1637 or yeah.
But it's fascinating. I mean, all the different scenarios that I watched it twice because it was I felt like I didn't want to miss something because it was the different scenarios of what could have happened.
So that radar. So that's exactly what we would do. Is we simply watch all. Aircraft are required to maintain certain modes and codes as they call them, and when they flip that code,
it's like a switch over.
It is from 7,500 to 7,600 to 7,700, and you kind of pucker
that split second
a
where
little
it goes
bit
off the radar, and they're like, it's like
how does it happen?
The middle of the night too. It's
so for those of us who have been, so I was military, and then in about 2008, I kind of looked at things and said, my job is to put planes together and to put bombs on target and to put missiles in the right place.
Blow shit up.
That's right. And I was pretty good at it, and I loved it. But then I kind of realized from a sustainability standpoint, there's probably not going to be a job where that's the best I could probably do is be a Walmart greeter, Vector 150 for great savings. There wasn't a lot of opportunity. So I went and got a degree in air traffic control in Alaska from University of Alaska, and went and worked for the FAA at Boston Center. So I have a military component, and then in aviation I have a air traffic control.
You're a smart girl.
I'm smart when it comes to certain things. when I find my niche, I find my niche. Yeah. And so anyone who has been in aviation, kind of when you see flights like the one that went down, you're kind of like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Like how in our very technological,
completely missing.
so many people connected to the
200 people or
puzzle.
something
Like
that.
how does this happen? Yeah. And it's still baffling to this day.
And to go back into your podcast, because
Yeah.
you know we've got a podcast mingle in May, so maybe you should come down for that. That'd
Yeah,
be
would
fun.
love to.
We're gonna get a bunch of different podcasters, local podcasters, and bring them all together and just shoot some ideas and just kind of get our creative juices flowing and just sort of like it. We're going to call it a like and follow party.
Love that.
Yeah, so that's kind of going through strengths, weaknesses, how can you improve and how can you get more followers and for me it's not really about getting more followers. I think it's more like getting quality people that are really interested in in my guests and
Sure.
all that. So
You're building a community of culture,
Yeah.
and I like that. Yeah, that's great.
since Zach's been on, I think we've got another 100 followers in the last 2 weeks or something. It's gaining a little speed, so keep listening.
I think good things take time.
Yes, absolutely. And so with your podcast concept, so you want to talk about something with your brother.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of look at the why. Like all of us do something, we have a purpose, but we do it because there's something that ignited the interest in us, right?
Yep.
And so in 2015, my brother was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, ALL. And so for his age at 27, that
So young.
I'll never forget where they said, well, that you have the wrong kind of leukemia. Because if he had had AML, he would have had a greater chance of survival.
So that was like the worst.
It was. So it was April 27th of 2015. He was diagnosed, and then he went to Duke for treatments, and all of us were really hopeful. And then in July, I remember I was sitting in a basement with him, and he was smoking a cigarette in front of a vent. But we had stolen wheelchairs, and we were sitting down in the basement garage of Duke Hospital. And I said to him, and I don't know how I know this, but he had all these grand plans. He was like, I think I've got 5 months, at least 6 months to go and see this person and do this and accomplish this. And I remember I turned to him and I said, what if you had 30 days? And he kind of looked at me and he kind of smiled and he said, are you asking me or are you telling me? And I said, I'm so sorry to say this, but
You got a feeling.
I have this awful feeling that they are going to pull you in tomorrow when they round on you, and they're going to tell you you have 30 days. And he went, well, that would be the ball game, wouldn't it? And so we go into the room, 9 o'clock the next morning. I pull his friend aside, and I said, listen, this might happen. And, Zach's kind of like, maybe you're just emotional. We all sit down in the room, and the doctor comes in and looks at my brother, and he said, Doc, just shoot me straight. Right?
Yeah. Give it to me straight.
Just give it to me straight.
Yeah.
I want to know so I can hit the
Prepared.
ground moving. And that doctor looked at him and he said, Mike, she said, if I had to guess, I'd say 30 days. And I will never forget, he turned to me and just gave me this look. And he went, well,
how'd you know?
That's the ball game. And I got a 4th of July party to plan. So July 3rd was that day. They gave him 30 days. And he died on August 2nd, which was the 30th day.
Gosh.
And it was like he had this road to walk. And so life stopped. For anyone who's dealt with somebody in terminal illness, this, is that nothing that matters doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And you're laser focused on this person in your life. And so my sisters, I have 2 sisters, my parents, my brother was living in a rental house that they had in Jacksonville by Camp Lejeune, and we all just moved into it. Life just stopped. And
Spend as much quality time as you possibly
I'm
can.
when I say time stopped, it was weird because we knew we had that 30-day countdown.
Gosh.
And it was like you could hear the tick. And so he did as much as he could. I mean, people came from all over the country, his Marine Corps buddies that he had served with, people that were, had been high school friends. Like, people just came out of the woodwork, and we received him in this house. And on the 30th day, he passed. I mean, we had Christmas, we had Thanksgiving, we had an ugly sweater party. He wanted to have a final Christmas tree. So all of these things, I remember I kept saying to him, are you sure that you want to do this? Because we're all, God willing, going to go forward and have these experiences as a family, and you're going to have to watch us live out this last one with you, knowing that you're not going to be at the next one. Mm-hmm. And it was very hard for him, but he wanted it. So those were his last wishes. And then after he passed, it was
sort
just,
of like sorry to interrupt you,
You're
but
fine.
it definitely I guess it would give you some closure in some sense too. Like, I don't know, maybe
I think it was maybe closure for him, but it definitely left an open space for the rest of us.
Because it went so quick. I mean,
It did, and you know what's crazy? And I didn't realize this until maybe a year ago. None of us asked for a miracle. We didn't. We prayed for him, but none of us expected a miracle.
some new drug to come out.
No, I think it's because he had such a quiet acceptance. And he took each day with so much honor. I mean, he was still trying to do pull-ups every day. I mean, he just got up every day. He inspired the people in his cancer wing. I mean, he just lived every day to the fullest. So when he picked me to eulogize him, and I finished the eulogy once he passed, and so
You make me cry.
in his eulogy, I said, his charge, Michael had a countdown. He knew how much time he had, but we don't know how much time we have. So why aren't we living like we're going to get hit
all the time?
Like we're going to get hit by a bus tomorrow? It's so crazy and so simple, but so difficult at the same time
to comprehend,
to have presence, right? And to be able to prioritize what matters from what doesn't matter. So with this podcast, I kind of took the principles from his experience and what my family did for him, and I want to apply it to other people and families that are in this situation.
So would you probably go to hospitals and let them know maybe if there are people to reach out to you in some
sense?
So
that's exactly why I wanted to do this podcast, because right now we are in pre-production, and this is such a delicate
it's life
interview
life
process,
yeah.
right? And so we want to make sure that we capture this with the most respect and honor, and each episode is very tailored to the specific person,
in loving memory of.
That's it. But we want them to have complete control. So really, we're putting the word out to people that are in this situation. Is this something that you want to participate in? Because we're going to do it right.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and but I think a lot of, I personally, I don't know about you, but I worry about my life snapshot being presented properly.
Yes.
So
of course.
Some people might say, "Oh my gosh, I would never go on a podcast and spend my last time, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want that to be out there." But other people would want their legacy to come out of their own mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it makes sense to me, and I think that it's a call to the living and to those transitioning, because I hope that the living take away, "Oh my gosh, I hate my job. What am I doing?"
Yeah.
Or "I'm not in the right relationship," or
just
"I
looking
want
back
a
at all
relationship."
that and what the hell was I thinking?
If a doctor said to you, "Jesse, you got 5 months," how quickly would things change for you?
I'm going straight to Southport to skydive.
Okay, great.
That's good. So that's when I know if and when I knew that'd be the first thing I'd do is go take that parachute and go.
So
jump
that's
out
my
of the
point,
plane.
right? What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
I'm gonna die.
The damn chute doesn't open. God,
Yeah, I'm telling
so
you,
scared. I'll be on so much Xanax when I go do that.
This is the point, right?
Throw me out.
And that's why we had to put in there. My brother wanted the final Christmas tree. He wanted the final Christmas, which was brutal for the rest of us. I think I still have PTSD from that. I know we all do.
Yeah.
I want to give that to somebody else as family.
Well, it's for people to be able to have a voice and say, "Hey, I do want my legacy put out in the way that I want it to be done."
That's right. And the other piece of this is I'm trying to build a nonprofit because I want those wishes to get greater and greater and greater.
That Make-A-Wish is such an amazing foundation. I mean, you see.
For children, it's incredible.
Absolutely.
But I remember when
it's such a tearjerker,
my
though.
brother got sick. He was like, "Do you think I could be in Make-A-Wish?" And I said, "I think you're a little
aged
too
out of
old."
that one.
And that made me really sad. I said, "Why isn't there something?
For
why
adults.
Isn't there an adult Make-A-Wish?"
Yeah, there should
With
be.
With the amount of companies,
it's crazy that there isn't
corporate
one,
sponsorship
right?
and all these things.
All these charity things. I mean, we go to
Exactly.
countless charity events all year long.
Yeah. So if you want to see the Grand Canyon before you die, I want to make that happen.
Yep. Amazing.
And so that's the last wish, and then the goodbye is not going to air. So it'll be recorded, but that goodbye will not air until that person passes.
After they're passed.
And the reason my producer and I went back and forth on this, and I said, no, I said, it can't, because there could be something in that goodbye that they don't want to face, whether it's a person or a situation, God forbid
something very personal.
God forbid it's sexual abuse or something that is very triggering. I just don't want that to air until they're gone, because it's very personal.
And they're going into that already knowing that that's
right.
how
and
it's
plus,
gonna be.
you don't eulogize somebody until they're gone, which is why I didn't finish my brother's eulogy until he was passed.
It's like the Queen and stuff. Her death is her funeral. All that stuff was planned years in advance.
Oh, yeah. Political figures. I mean, even news anchors, they go through their farewell segments, like so that they have that ready.
And you watch The Crown. I was addicted to it, but
It's an incredible
it was
incredible
so
show.
well done. Miss Shirley, we call her Mama Penthouse. Her daughter is one of the costume designers.
That what an that's like one of my favorite. Jess James could probably share this with me, but I love I how intricate, and I just can't imagine how fun it is to build all those pieces. I mean, what a
Right?
It's a great job.
Just to go out there and then see it on for yourself, like,
Right.
well, I did that.
Right.
And I told Miss Shirley, I'm like, because there's that scene when Princess Margaret's at the White House.
She's my favorite
And that
in that
dress,
show.
that orange and white dress she was wearing, that was what Miss Shirley's daughter designed that dress.
That's incredible.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's such a great show. But yeah, from a legacy standpoint, we have to think about these things. And that's another thing. I kind of want to disarm death.
Yes.
You know, we have two things in
We
common.
put up such a wall, like,
Death and taxes. We're
Yeah,
all
oh,
we are
fuck.
all guaranteed death and taxes. We know this. It's but I feel like
it's like as soon as you're born, you're dying.
it's like the great delusion, right? Like we love maybe just pushing it off and not thinking about it, almost like taxes. We're not going to talk about it until next tax season. But if you face it, and I'm a person that runs towards things, if you face it and
Head
have a
on.
conversation about it,
Yep.
then maybe it doesn't feel so scary. And if you have a plan,
It's like a lot of people don't like talking about money. You know
Same-
what I mean?
same
But you have to
concept.
talk about it. How
But
else
you
like you're
have
going to
to
make it,
talk
and how you're going
about
to
it.
spend it, and how you're going to pay people. I mean, I've got to pay people all the time, so it's
it's
like
a necessary evil. And
It
so
is.
approaching our death plan and what we would do, because you're either going to go suddenly or you're going to get a
you're gonna know.
timestamp.
yes.
And so we don't know which box we're going to fall into. So why not have some takeaways from somebody that's going through it and listen to their story and how they faced it, and then maybe build your own. And that's just, I mean, I'm a planner anyway by
Yes.
nature. So for me, it's comforting. And for those that it's not comfortable for, then I would implore you to maybe challenge yourself to
Dig a
listen to
little
it.
deeper.
There's so many podcasts out there, but maybe give these people the time just to hear where they came from and the incredible things they encountered in their life. And then watch them say goodbye.
It's giving them a platform of their own.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like watch them say goodbye. And I think there's
Is
like
that what we're going to name it? Is that what the name?
the goodbye. So it's like the goodbye.
The goodbye.
So yeah, the first episode, every guest will get 3 parts.
Okay.
The first part is their bio and their
Okay.
history, and like what do you want us to know about, you know, what,
You.
what are some incredible things that have happened in your life, and what are some not so incredible
Yes.
things that you navigated, because life is not perfect.
conquered.
That's right. And so that's the first episode, and the second one is going to be their goodbye wish, and the content will be built around, you know, we'll do video and stuff like that to showcase what they chose. And then 3 is very personal, and it's their goodbye, and it'll be
and that's the one that airs after they pass
yeah,
away.
they'll record that. We'll record that for them, and then it'll be put in a vault. And you know, the sad thing is that people are going to build relationships. They're going to get connected to these
Mm-hmm.
people, and then they're going to have to say goodbye to them. So that's going to be hard. But
And you're learning to cope with
that's right.
death.
But you're going to encounter that loss and grief anywhere. And we'll also have experts. We'll have grief experts and people that have had near-death experiences.
One of my friends said he was going to he wanted to hire a bunch of mourners when he died. So there were all these people like, oh my God, so sad, terrible.
I love that.
They're all crying and
I love
falling all
that.
over the place.
I love that.
But just pay them in advance before. So.
I'd love to have one of those like New Orleans jazz bands that, you know, follow your casket.
Yes.
I've always thought that'd be an incredible way to go.
Yep.
You know,
have a whole concert. My
yeah, why
God.
not? I mean, actually, you know, event funerals are becoming a thing where people throw massive parties.
Yes. You ever get the church? All right, so
So I'll hire
is-
Jesse Davis events for mine.
Wait, I'll probably go before you. That's we don't know.
We
It's the
don't
most,
know.
It's so funny, not funny to talk about, but it's real. It's so real. I mean,
It is.
It is what it is. you know?
We do not control it. We have no say.
My father died when I was 9 years old, and it's weird because when you were talking about your brother, you looking at him and saying, "Okay, yes, you might only have 30 days. Like,
Right.
that's it." So I'll never forget that morning that my mom came in my bedroom and she sat on the bed, and I looked at her and I said, "Dad's dead." And she was shocked that I knew that. Like something just told me, just like maybe in
I
her
have
body
no
language
doubt.
or some
I have
sort of
no doubt.
spirit.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know what people are free to believe whatever they want as long as they believe in something.
Something.
Like,
I always say that whatever you believe in, it's better to believe in something than nothing at all.
That's right. This is not a religious podcast by any means. It is a human interest piece.
Human interest, yes.
Because everyone is different and they have their own customs and cultures and beliefs. So I don't want to close the door on anybody.
Yes. Well, I was thinking about our trip. You and I took a trip. You showed me Cashiers and Highlands, and that was, I'd been going half of my life to Boone skiing most of my birthdays in February. So you took me to we went and stayed. What was the name of that hotel?
Oh, we stayed at Skyline Lodge.
Yes, so fun.
Isn't that just
we had a blast.
It's a magical place. Are those the shoes?
No, I got these for the
shoes.
Azalea Festival weekend.
Yeah.
These are fairly new. I always have to go all out for my...
Jesse forgot his shoes.
Oh, that's right.
On our road trip, he realized that he did not have any dress shoes, so we spent the afternoon looking for shoes.
I ended up... So every store we went to, like, those shoes were too big. So I'm an 8. And so we go to this, like, grandma, like, off the side of the road.
It was like a shoe barn. It was like the shoe barn.
It was a ladies' store, by the way. And I found a pair of shoes there.
I'll never forget the
They're
owner.
little black loafers,
Well, young man, those are ladies' shoes.
I was like, well, I don't know.
They fit perfect.
They look unisex to me. I was like, I don't know. Anyway.
That was great.
But,
we had a wonderful dinner.
Yes.
And great hike to the waterfall.
Went to the waterfall. That was pretty magical.
Got a great picture taken.
Yes.
Remember the woman
Remember
took
they
the picture?
couldn't get the guy to move out of the way. We're like, it's our turn.
This woman chases us down to get a picture on the trail. And then when she takes it, it's like a Scooby-Doo picture. It's so blurry. I think our heads were cut off.
We were like, what the? Okay, well, thanks. Okay.
I'm like, is this lady doing
it was so bad we had to keep it.
Is she doing a bit, or is she actually think she's a photographer?
Oh, my God.
It was
So
great.
what are your plans for the future as far as any trips coming up? You going on any leaving the country? You going? What
So
are you doing?
in the vein of, hey, Kelly and I sat down when we moved from Wilmington, and his father died April 20th.
Your new house is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. He died in 2017 when his father passed. Kelly had a massive awakening. Tragedy is what brings us to climb the mountain and go through that milestone, and we become different people, right?
Yeah.
And he learned a lot through that process. Yeah, I mean, it was multifaceted, and we went through a lot.
To rewind a little bit about Kelly's dad, Mr. Precythe. So the house was in Faison, and I don't know if people saw my post. I went up there to the estate sale, and it was like a collection of all of his treasures, and it was like, it was morbidly weird to go through people's stuff, but then on the other hand, I'm thinking to myself, when I die, like, I want my stuff to have a good home. Like, so now the little angels are on the wall. Like, he wouldn't have never known where those were
Stuart
going.
sat me down in 16 and he said, don't you, something happens to me, don't you let my son come in here and just fire sale all this stuff, because he knew I had a love for antiquity.
Yes.
And I said, I won't do that, Stuart. But we waited 7 years. I mean, I built.
Would you say 13 storage units or something?
I mean,
crazy?
Kelly didn't want to sell the house for the longest time, so I built Rabble and Rose, and we tried to do events, and we did some events. They were great.
Beautiful events.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then one day he looked at me in 22 and he said, I want to sell the house. And I went, okay, well, now we shift the plan. And now we'll just sell everything. So we found a really great company, New World Estates out of Asheboro, and Corey he's an auctioneer, he's an appraiser, he is very articulate, and he has done a beautiful job of moving items through these sales. And so it'll be a 2-part sale. We've had the first one. The second one will be in the summer, because Stuart just amassed. He was a collector, and he had to be in Faison because the business was in Faison, and it demanded a lot of his time. So he traveled a lot, and I always say he brought the world back to that house, because there was items from all over the world.
It was wild,
I mean, the man went to Moldova and brought back paintings from Moldova 15 years ago. So Kelly went through a lot with that, but I think that through that, he just kind of really laser focused in on what was important and what he wanted to do for the next 30, 35 years. And
what you want to keep that's going to remind you of him.
That's
when you see it.
That's it. And he just said, I have a beautiful family and a beautiful son. I just want to travel.
So cute.
I just want to travel. So we said, well, let's not wait until we're 65, 70, where we might have 2 knees blown out or whatever, and let's just live now. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to go.
Living in the now.
That's it. And it's not easy, to stay present. But we're going to go to Turks in 2 weeks, and then we're going to go to Alaska. for almost 16 days in July because I have friends that are still up there. So I want to show Kelly and Michael kind of my history and where it was in this beautiful, majestic place. And then we're planning to do UK and Scotland probably, I don't know, fall or next spring.
Ireland looks amazing. So
I know.
You see those cliffs.
We have friends that just got back from Ireland, took their very young children, and they had an incredible time.
I'm doing a Memorial Day party for a friend of mine, and we're just trying to get we're trying to just throw something new in the mix. And he's like, well, just send me some ideas and just kind of tell me what you're thinking. I said, well, let's get a hot air balloon.
Love it.
And my aunt, speaking of terminal illness, she was in a coma for a long time. She came out of it. Her and her husband, she was a downhill racer, a skier, downhill professional skier. And her and her husband got married in a hot air balloon over the Grand Canyon. So that was all before she had her accident. So it's she was living her best life. I mean, she was gorgeous. She looked like Jackie Kennedy. My aunt.
Is she still living?
She's still alive, yep.
I bet she has an incredible story.
My Uncle Jay is such an incredible man to have been by her side, never left, just been there since day one, and there are still men out there that cherish marriage like that.
Yeah.
Whether
God, I hope so. I hope that if you're married to somebody, you'll stand by them. Like that.
Man.
How long was she in the coma?
Oh, I think it was I want to say 6 months. Because I remember as a kid going to visit her, and it was a little scary because you're
I would be really interested to sit down with her and just hear what her experience was. That's wild.
My Aunt Jackie, yeah, she's still alive. She lives in Rhode Island with my Uncle Jay, and yeah, he never. I mean, it's. I just always thought that was such a special person to just to stay with somebody through she's in a wheelchair and she's.
And I have probably listened to over 200 near-death experiences about people just preparing for this project. And
what's the scariest one? The one that stood
oh
out
my
in your mind
gosh,
the
there was a
most.
paramedic that was coming home and was crushed in a car accident, and just his story was intense, very intense. But I mean, these people come out of these experiences with such a clear picture. I mean, and they all have all these little things in common, like what they encountered, what it was like, if they left their body, if they didn't leave their body. It's fascinating to me.
Catherine Bruner is a good friend of mine. She was on the podcast as a co-host recently. We did a restaurant episode.
I saw it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great.
And so she was running for city council, and at one of her campaign fundraisers, she described how she was the first on the scene, and the woman had got hit by a car, and the Mercedes emblem was literally implanted into her body. It was
my gosh.
I can never look at a Mercedes emblem the same now.
I bet not.
But I think coping with death, not fortunately or unfortunately, I've buried my dad died when I was 9, my stepdad died when I was 21 of diabetes. So my understanding of death, I'm pretty straightforward with it. I mean, we're all going to have our time, and people do handle death differently. Absolutely.
I think that the biggest takeaway, at least for me, is love people while they're here. Forgive,
and love yourself.
Forgive.
Love yourself.
Yeah, love yourself enough not to carry around so much anger.
Burdens.
And
it makes you ugly. You can see these
some
people
are
so
like
miserable. It just hangs on
some
their
people are
face.
like, Anna Marie, how do you forgive the people that have wronged you? How do you get over your ex-husband? Like, what happened with that?
You have to ask for forgiveness in
because
some sense too.
you have to understand that it's their path. Now this takes time.
Yes,
this does not happen.
Oh, I have had many fuck ups in my life, and as far as with
we're
my
not perfect
friendships
people. We're not perfect
and
people.
I have,
so as long as we give other people the grace to be who they are, I mean, you can easily forgive, and you don't have to forget. Nothing says that you have to go back and be best friends.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But you can keep people at a distance, and you can say, I forgive you, and I accept who you are, and I accept that that's where you were in your life, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt to hope that you're becoming a healed person. Not a better person, but a healed person, because we all have trauma. We all act a certain way because of things that have happened to us in the past, and that's a big part of it.
Life is full of ups and downs.
That's it.
It is.
That's
you
it.
gotta enjoy those ups.
You got to be able to
it
take
makes
it
you
in the
appreciate
face.
things too, for sure.
The gratitude piece, right? So every day, like Kelly, I was really impressed. So I come into the bathroom one morning, and he has bought all these like magnetic or mirror tiles, and he just writes what he's grateful for. So that every single morning, and everyone's probably like, ugh, but like I'm being honest.
Gratitude makes you feel good.
Gratitude is one of the first steps into truly being happy, because you could have $50 million in the bank and still be miserable.
This absolutely.
So if you can be happy where you are and you can be grateful for very simple things in life, you'll go a very long way.
Well, I would like to wrap it up. And
Yeah.
If you want to, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. So at AM Precythe is my Instagram handle. Our team is still working on. We haven't gotten to the graphics and social pages and all of that yet. If this appeals to you, if you know somebody, send them my information. Tell them to get a hold of me or you.
Okay.
And I'll sit down with them and talk to them and lay it out. And
if you are listening and you have someone in your life that unfortunately knows that they're kind of on their way out and they want a platform to stand on and
absolutely
voice themselves.
Just want to call and ask questions. Just
some people just want to talk.
Test the water.
Yeah.
Listen, I am always into talking. I'm always into lending an ear. You know that. Always available.
Well, you're a great friend, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life.
Oh, me as well. I'm going to write you on my tile.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming today.
My pleasure.
Let's go get some dinner at Circa.
Let's do it.